Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and I welcome all of you back to another Dark Souls 3 OST video where we've been on a conclusion juggernaut marathon these last few days because I finished talking about the things I wanted to say in regards to the OSTs in Dark Souls, Dark Souls 2, Bloodborne, and now we move into what I think for Dark Souls 3, which, outside of it being the best game in the Dark Souls trilogy, it also has absolutely the best final boss of the trilogy. There's no real doubt about that. And I'm going to say something incredibly controversial for the beginning of this video. Soul of Cinder is the best boss in Dark Souls 3. In the main game. Because there is only one other boss that beats the Soul of Cinder in pretty much every other category. But we will get to that very soon, my friends. Don't you worry about that. But in terms of the story and the lore for the Soul of Cinder it's not really that difficult to explain. Because the Soul of Cinder is the manifestation of every single undead and every single unkindled who has ever lit the throne, who has ever kindled the fire. They are all Lords of Cinder. And as a result, the Soul of Cinder has movesets which vary from curved swords to staffs to music to magic to katanas to straight swords to ultra great swords to pyromancies. Basically, it's the most diverse and the most fitting sort of moveset that a final boss of this story should have. And how does it even begin, you may ask? Well, before we are taken all the way to the kiln of the first flame, which makes sense, because if this is the end of the world, then we better go back to where the end of the world really began. We first have had the unenviable task of returning all the Lords of Cinder to their rightful thrones. And this is what happens.
The 5 lords sit their 5 thrones, all thanks to thee, most worthy of lords. Ashen One, with the lords as thy witness, bend thy knee afore the bonfire's coiled sword, and let the Lord's embers acknowledge thee as their true heir, a true Lord, fit to link the fire. Farewell, Ashen, may the flame.
And here it is.
Noble Lords of Cinder, the fire fades. And the lords go without thrones. Surrender your fires to the true heir. Let him grant death to to the old gods of Lordran, deliverers of the first flame.
And very shortly after this, right as soon as you find what you've been looking for, the killing of the first flame, you see this guy, the front cover star, just standing in the middle of this field, surrounded by lilies and flowers, torn rocks, and basically he is there for one reason and one reason only. He is there to stop you. He is ready. And this isn't even getting into what happens during his second stage, but I'll just say, if you are unfamiliar about the story of his second stage, because that is an entire story in itself, because you may remember, if anything, from the ending to the first game, it wasn't just other players who became Lords of Cinder. Now, as I mentioned before, I think in terms of just OSTs, it's only really second best to one boss that we haven't yet talked about, but one thing we haven't yet, what we are going to come across very, very soon enough. And fittingly enough, during its second stage, it uses the pling pling plon of Gwyn's old music from his boss fight in the first game. Which, as I mentioned before, it wasn't done just because it was a good throwback. It's because, yes, as I said before, it wasn't just other players who became Lords of Cinder, but, well, the Soul of Cinder now becomes Lord Gwyn with a slightly extended moveset. Potentially, it's almost like fighting Gwyn theoretically in his prime when he had just about conquered the Everlasting Dragons. But as even if, let's say, you did what I did and you played through the DLCs immediately after defeating Lothric and Lorien and truly saving the Lord of Cinder to last, as I did, in spite of the contradiction about what happens in the final boss we want to talk about, there is also no doubt in my mind, ladies and gentlemen, that this is the most fitting and striking way to conclude the world smashing together, to conclude the chaos, to end the misery, to end the linking of the fire, to end the Age of Fire once and for all, and to end the Dark Souls series with 3 simple notes. And it's still not even, it's only second best compared to one other boss we want to talk about. So, prepare, ladies and gentlemen. That's all I can say. Hand it over, that thing, your Dark Soul, for the next video. Take care, and bye-bye for now.